Welcome to our deep dive, you guys, into the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda.
Oh, yeah.
You've brought us his book, Man's Eternal Quest, along with its glossary.
Yes.
And we are so ready to dive into his teachings really today.
Yeah, his work is so fascinating. He really combined like Eastern spirituality with Western practicality.
It's a really unique perspective for sure.
Yeah, offering a really unique perspective on life's biggest questions.
Yeah, his ideas are so thought-provoking. Like, for example, did you know that he believed that even the experience of pain actually happens in the mind, not the body?
Whoa, that's a concept we'll definitely have to get into.
Right.
But to kick things off, let's maybe focus on what seemed to be the foundation of all his teachings.
Okay.
The power of meditation and finding God.
Okay, so what did Yogananda have to say about meditation?
Well,
it seems like a pretty big part of his philosophy.
Absolutely. Yogananda saw meditation not as some mystical practice, but as a scientific method for finding God and experiencing true happiness.
Interesting.
He believed that true prayer is a state of such deep absorption that all other thoughts just disappear.
Wow, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
Do you think he had any personal experiences that really solidified this belief for him?
He shared this anecdote about a student who was straying from the spiritual path.
Okay.
And Yogananda sat under a banyan tree and visualized the student so intensely, praying with such fervor that the student actually returned to the fold.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the power of focused intention, right?
Exactly. And Yogananda believed that God will answer prayers that align with his laws, even fulfilling what he called unnecessary necessities once we kind of become attuned to his will.
Unnecessary necessities. What does that even mean?
Well, think of it this way.
Right.
Remember how badly Yogananda wanted a pony as a child?
Oh, yeah?
His mother wouldn't allow it, but, years later, long after that childhood desire had faded, a horse that he had brought home for his school for boys gave birth to a colt. And it was this unexpected fulfillment of that, childhood longing.
So what you're saying is by, surrendering our desires to a higher purpose,
Yes.
we might actually experience their fulfillment in ways we don't expect.
Precisely. It makes you wonder what desires of yours might be fulfilled by aligning yourself with God's will.
Right.
Maybe it's not about getting exactly what you want, but about being open to how those desires might manifest in a way that serves a greater good.
That's such a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
It really challenges the way we usually think about getting what we want.
Now let's move on to another intriguing aspect of Yogananda's teachings.
Okay.
Reincarnation and karma.
Okay.
He believed that reincarnation was the only plausible explanation for the vast inequalities we see among humans.
Interesting.
He saw it as a soul's journey through many lifetimes, shaped by actions and desires carried over as karma.
Okay, so karma is like the cause and effect of
Yes.
our actions influencing our future lives.
Yes, and Yogananda shared a rather startling story that illustrates this.
Okay.
He once held a baby and psychically saw that in a past life, this baby had been a cruel murderer.
Whoa.
It's a stark reminder that we carry our past with us,
Yeah,
both the good and the bad.
that's heavy.
It is.
It definitely makes you wonder what we're carrying with us from our past lives.
For sure.
Are there any more stories about reincarnation?
There's a really captivating one about a little girl
Okay.
who vividly remembered her past life
Wow.
and actually led her family to hidden gold.
What?
These accounts suggest that reincarnation is much more than just a theoretical concept.
Right.
It makes you wonder, could your own unexplained fears or strong affinities be echoes of past lives?
That's amazing.
Right.
It really makes you think about the bigger picture beyond just this one life, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It challenges us to look beyond the surface of our current experiences and consider the deeper currents that might be shaping our lives.
Now, I'm curious to hear about Yogananda's perspective on, reality itself. I know he had some pretty metaphysical views.
He believed that material reality is essentially a dream of God, a grand illusion. True freedom, he said, comes from waking up to our true nature as spirit.
So he's saying that the world we experience with our senses isn't the ultimate reality?
Exactly. He used the analogy of dreaming about a journey to India.
Okay.
In the dream time and space collapse.
Yeah.
And we experience things as if they were real.
Right.
Yogananda suggests that the same is true of our waking reality. It's a projection of consciousness, not the ultimate truth.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
So what is the ultimate truth, according to Yogananda?
He believed that the ultimate truth lies in understanding the three bodies, the physical, the astral, and the causal.
Okay.
He even shared his personal experience of feeling no separation between India and America,
Wow.
demonstrating the potential for transcending physical limitations.
Wait, 3 bodies.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. So the physical body is the one we're most familiar with.
Right.
But Yogananda taught that we also have an astral body, which is made of finer, more subtle energy,
Okay.
and a causal body, which is the seat of our soul and karmic patterns.
Gotcha.
Understanding these different layers of our being can help us break free from the limitations of the physical world
Okay.
and connect with our true self.
Okay, so the astral body and causal body exist beyond the physical realm.
Yes. And Yogananda believed that our dreams could be glimpses into these deeper realities. Think about your own dreams.
Okay.
Have you ever experienced something so vivid and real
Yeah.
that it felt like you were actually there?
Yeah, I definitely have dreams like that.
Perhaps those dreams are more than just random firings of neurons.
Right.
Maybe they're glimpses into the astral realm or even reflections of past lives.
Interesting.
Yogananda encourages us to explore these inner experiences as a way to understand ourselves and the nature of reality more deeply.
That's a really interesting perspective. So we've covered meditation, finding God, reincarnation, and the nature of reality. I'm curious to hear what Yogananda had to say about something a little more practical,
Okay.
like overcoming bad habits. Did he have any advice on that?
He did. He called bad habits psychological antiques that keep us from evolving.
Psychological antiques. I like that.
Yeah.
So what did he say about getting rid of them?
He offered some very practical techniques for overcoming bad habits, including self-analysis, willpower, and changing our environment.
Okay.
He likened the brain to a garden, urging us to cultivate beautiful, fragrant thoughts instead of letting our minds become a stagnant mud pond of negativity.
So we have a choice about what we allow to grow in our minds.
Absolutely. He believed that willpower is essential for breaking free from negative patterns.
Yeah.
He even talked about his own struggle to overcome the temptation to pray for healing, choosing instead to surrender to God's will. It's a powerful example of letting go of control and trusting in a higher power.
That takes a lot of faith and surrender.
It does.
It makes you think about what habits we might be holding on to that are preventing us from experiencing greater peace and freedom.
It does. It's a call to action.
Right?
What one habit would you like to change? And how can Yogananda's teachings support you in that journey?
That's a good question.
We'll dive deeper into this in the next part of our deep dive.
That sounds great. I'm ready to hear more about how we can apply Yogananda's wisdom to our everyday lives.
Perfect.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda.
Yes.
We're picking up where we left off, exploring how his teachings can help us overcome those psychological antiques
Right.
he called bad habits.
Yeah, and one of the key tools he offered for personal transformation is self-analysis. He even suggested keeping a daily journal to track our thoughts and aspirations.
So it's not about judging ourselves, but more about understanding our true nature.
Exactly. Yogananda believed that most people resist change because they're blind to their own faults. He even made this interesting comparison. People who dwell on others' shortcomings are like vultures feasting on negativity.
Wow.
But he urged us to be like roses, sharing the fragrance of goodness with everyone we encounter.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what he said about the brain being like a garden.
Right.
We have a choice to cultivate beautiful thoughts.
Yes.
Or let our minds become a stagnant mud pond of negativity.
That's a powerful analogy, isn't it? It highlights the importance of being mindful of what we're feeding our minds.
Right.
And just like a garden benefits from being surrounded by other thriving plants, Yogananda stressed the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive influences, people who uplift and inspire us.
So choosing our company wisely is a form of tending to our mental garden.
Precisely. And it's not just about who we spend time with, but also how we interact with others.
Okay.
Yogananda emphasized the importance of sincerity in our interactions, being truly present with others, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
He even suggested politely excusing ourselves if we find our attention wandering during a conversation.
Right.
After all, nobody wants to be stuck talking to what he called a conversational corpse.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So genuine connection is really at the heart of his advice on relationships.
Absolutely. And speaking of connection, he had some profound insights on friendship.
Oh, yeah.
He believed that true friendship reflects the divine offering a unique opportunity to express unconditional love.
So friendship can be a pathway to experiencing higher states of consciousness.
He believed so. He even talked about the joy of experiencing divine love in meditation, comparing it to the bliss of 1,000 sleeps rolled into one.
Wow, that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
But how do we access those higher states of consciousness?
Well, Yogananda distinguished between the subconscious and superconscious states.
Okay.
And the subconscious experiences come unbidden, like in dreams. But in the superconscious, we can consciously create any sensation at will.
We consciously create any sensation? That sounds pretty mind-blowing.
It is, but it's important to understand that there are different levels of superconsciousness.
Okay.
Beyond the subconscious and superconscious is what he called Christ consciousness, a state of universal intelligence and love.
So Christ consciousness isn't limited to a specific religion.
No. Yogananda saw it as a state of being available to everyone regardless of their beliefs. And for a select few, there's even a state beyond that called cosmic consciousness, the ultimate truth beyond creation.
Okay.
He described it as transcending even the manifested light, entering into pure bliss.
That sounds like the ultimate goal of the spiritual path.
It is.
But what about those of us who are still navigating the challenges of everyday life?
Yeah.
Did Yogananda offer any guidance on how to live a more balanced and fulfilling life in the here and now?
He did. He emphasized the importance of balance in all areas, not just between thought and feeling, but also between material success and spiritual fulfillment.
Right.
He reminded us that earthly achievements, even great ones, ultimately bring disillusionment.
If they're not grounded in a deeper sense of purpose.
So it's not about rejecting material success, but about keeping it in perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yogananda believed that true and lasting happiness can only be found in divine realization. He even addressed the age-old question, who made God?
Oh, wow.
His answer, the infinite, created itself.
Whoa.
It's a concept that challenges our linear understanding of cause and effect,
Right.
highlighting the boundless nature of the divine.
That's a deep concept.
It is.
It makes you realize how limited our human understanding can be.
It does. And it underscores the importance of aligning our will with a higher purpose, what Yogananda called dynamic will.
Okay.
It's not just about willpower, but about surrendering to the divine flow of life.
Did he share any examples of what that looks like in practice?
He did. He told this fascinating story about intuitively guiding a student to raise funds for his school.
Okay.
The student was skeptical at first, but by following Yogananda's advice and honoring his mother's wishes, the money miraculously appeared.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So it's about trusting in divine guidance,
Yeah.
even when it doesn't make logical sense.
Exactly. He reminds us that nothing is impossible when our will is in harmony with the divine.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the concept of the illusion of material reality.
Right.
Yogananda said that this world is like a cosmic motion picture, a projection of God's mind. He encouraged us to dissociate ourselves from the drama of everyday life and find solace in the unchanging reality of the spirit.
So it's about shifting our focus from the external to the internal.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He emphasized that the true self, the soul, is free from the limitations of the body and the material world.
Right.
It's a call to prioritize what's eternal over what's fleeting.
I remember you mentioned the three bodies earlier.
Yes.
How do they fit into this understanding of the soul and the illusion of reality?
That's a great question. Remember, we have the physical body, the astral body, and the causal body.
Right.
At death, physical body dissolves. But the astral and causal bodies remain. Yogananda even touched upon the existence of ghosts, describing them as inhabitants of the astral world, a realm hidden behind the physical.
Ghosts.
Yeah.
That's a little spooky.
He also shed light on the concept of Satan and evil spirits, viewing them as forces of negativity and disorder.
Okay.
He even attributed the creation of disease germs to Satan, but he reminded us that God and his angels are constantly working to counteract these forces, inspiring goodness and healing in the world.
So there's a constant battle between good and evil, both in the world and within ourselves.
That's how he saw it.
Yeah.
And he didn't shy away from discussing other topics that are often considered taboo, like sex and desire. He saw them as powerful forces that, when misused, can keep us trapped in the material world, preventing us from experiencing God consciousness.
So how did he suggest we deal with those powerful forces?
He believed that the creative energy associated with sex and desire, when transmuted and spiritualized, can actually lead to greater mental powers and ultimately divine realization.
So it's about channeling that energy into a higher purpose.
Yes, and this ties into his interpretation of the Ten Commandments.
Okay.
He didn't see them as rigid rules, but as eternal guidelines for happiness and spiritual growth.
So how did he interpret them?
He emphasized that God realization should be our primary goal, as all other duties become meaningless without a connection to the divine.
Mm.
He cautioned against idol worship, emphasizing that true worship lies in emulating the qualities represented by the image, not blindly venerating the object itself.
That makes sense. So it's about the inner transformation, not just the outward rituals.
Exactly. He also offered a profound perspective on adultery, suggesting that it's not just about physical infidelity,
Yeah.
but also about betraying the sacredness of love and the divine purpose of the creative energy.
Right.
And he reminded us that covetousness is the root of discontentment, encouraging us to focus on cultivating spiritual riches, the only treasures that bring lasting fulfillment.
That's a great reminder.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in wanting things we don't have, but true happiness comes from within.
He also shared his insights on character analysis, suggesting that our past thoughts and actions are reflected in our physical features, especially our eyes.
So our physical appearance can reveal something about our inner state.
He believed so. And he emphasized the importance of balance between reason and feeling, particularly in relationships between men and women.
How did he see the differences between men and women?
He recognized that men tend to be more guided by reason, while women are more driven by feeling.
Okay.
He encouraged both genders to cultivate a harmonious blend of these qualities.
So it's about finding that balance within ourselves and in our relationships with others.
Exactly. He also highlighted the limitations of our physical senses, suggesting that we only perceive a fraction of reality. He believed that by freeing ourselves from attachment to the material world, we can expand our sensory powers and experience a richer, more profound existence.
So there's a whole world beyond what we can see and hear.
According to Yogananda, yes. He spoke about the incredible power of thought, reminding us that everything we see is the result of an idea.
Wow.
He believed that by mastering our thoughts, we can literally manifest our desires.
So our thoughts have the power to shape our reality.
He believed so. He also touched upon the importance of education, advocating for schools that cultivate the whole person, not just the intellect.
So education should be about more than just acquiring knowledge.
Yes. He believed that true education should equip individuals to navigate the challenges of life and realize their full potential.
That's a holistic view of education.
It is.
Did he talk about the role of spiritual practice in this process of self-realization?
He did. He emphasized that true success lies in knowing God and discovering our true self. He even criticized the prevalent focus on material success, urging us to prioritize spiritual growth.
So spiritual growth is the key to lasting happiness.
He believed so. He saw material accomplishments as fleeting, while spiritual realization is eternal. He even shared his personal experiences of receiving knowledge and guidance through meditation, suggesting that deep communion with the divine can unlock a wellspring of wisdom within us.
That's inspiring.
Yeah.
It makes you want to dive deeper into meditation and experience those insights for yourself.
It does. He encouraged us to prioritize meditation over excessive reading, emphasizing that direct experience of God transcends intellectual understanding.
Right.
He shared his own profound experiences of feeling God's presence, describing them as moments of overwhelming bliss and illumination.
Wow, that sounds incredible.
Yeah, he reminded us that God is always seeking our love, and that by surrendering to his will, we can experience unimaginable joy and fulfillment.
So it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
We're seeking God and God is seeking us.
Exactly. And he encouraged us to persevere in our spiritual journey, reminding us that every step toward God brings us closer to true freedom and happiness.
Right.
He also emphasized the importance of starting our spiritual quest while we're young and strong, as age and illness can make the journey more challenging.
So there's no time like the present to start exploring our spirituality.
He believed so. He warned that ignorance keeps us trapped in the cycle of suffering, and that meditation is the key to breaking free.
Right.
He also discussed the significance of his Yogoda Satsanga lessons, a comprehensive guide to Kriya Yoga, a powerful meditation technique for achieving God realization.
Kriya Yoga. Is that something he developed?
He explained that Kriya Yoga was revived in modern times by a lineage of enlightened masters, including his own guru Swami Sri Yukteswar.
Gotcha.
He also discussed the role of the guru, or spiritual teacher, emphasizing the importance of finding a true master who can guide us on our spiritual path.
So finding a qualified teacher can be helpful on the spiritual journey.
He believed it was essential. He also provided insights into various concepts and figures mentioned in his teachings, such as the Bhagavad Gita Lord Krishna and the concept of caste.
So he drew from a variety of spiritual traditions.
He did, and he explained the different layers of our being, including the physical, astral, and causal bodies. as well as the different realms of existence, including the physical, astral, and causal worlds.
Oh, wow.
He also discussed the nature of prana, or life force, and the role of the spiritual eye, the gateway to inner perception.
Right.
He even described his personal experiences of witnessing the miraculous powers of enlightened masters, such as the ability to materialize and dematerialize at will.
That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
It does!
But did he emphasize practical living as well?
He did.
Yeah.
He highlighted the importance of balance and moderation in all aspects of life, from diet to exercise to sleep.
Okay.
He shared his belief that long life is possible through spiritual practices that harmonize us with the divine life force.
So taking care of our physical well-being is important too.
He believed it was essential for supporting our spiritual growth. He also offered practical advice on overcoming bad habits, such as changing our environment, practicing willpower, and using affirmations.
Yeah.
He emphasized the importance of replacing negative habits with positive ones and aligning our actions with our true desires.
So it's about making conscious choices that support our spiritual evolution.
Exactly. He also discussed the importance of developing a dynamic will, aligning our personal will with the will of God.
Okay.
He shared stories of how surrendering to divine guidance can lead to unexpected and miraculous outcomes.
So there's a power in aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
He believes so. He emphasized the importance of faith and perseverance in our spiritual journey, reminding us that God is always with us, even when we feel lost or discouraged.
Right.
He encouraged us to view challenges as opportunities for growth and to never give up on our quest for God realization.
So it's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and spiritual unfolding.
Exactly. And he also discussed the significance of the Self-Realization Fellowship, the organization he founded to disseminate his teachings and guide seekers on the path to self-realization. He shared his vision of a world where spirituality and material progress are harmoniously balanced, leading to peace and happiness for all.
That's a beautiful vision.
And he concluded with a powerful message of hope, reminding us that true and lasting joy is attainable through communion with God, the source of all love and bliss.
Wow.
He urged us to make the effort to find God, assuring us that the rewards far outweigh the challenges.
That's truly inspiring. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive into Yogananda's teachings. We've explored his insights on everything from self-analysis and overcoming bad habits to the nature of reality and the power of dynamic will.
It's amazing.
We even touched upon his interpretations of the Ten Commandments and his views on sex and desire.
Yeah.
There's so much to contemplate and apply to our own lives.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration of Yogananda's teachings and leave you with some final thoughts and reflections.
Yes, we'll be discussing some of the more profound concepts, like the nature of the soul and the possibility of transcending death.
So stick around. There's much more to come. Welcome back to our deep dive into the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda. We've covered so much ground already, from meditation and overcoming bad habits,
Yes.
the nature of reality, and, all those psychological antiques that he talked about.
Yes.
Now, I'm really excited to explore what he had to say about, the soul
Okay.
and the possibility of, transcending death.
Those are some of the most profound questions that humans have ever grappled with.
Right.
And Yogananda offered some fascinating insights based on his own experiences and deep understanding of spiritual truths.
So where do we even begin? What did Yogananda say about the soul?
He taught that the soul, that spark of God within us, is our true nature. It's not the body, not our thoughts or emotions, but pure, ever-existing consciousness.
So he's saying that the soul is essentially a piece of God residing within each of us.
Exactly. And he believed that realizing this truth, what he called self-realization,
Right.
is the ultimate goal of life.
But what does that actually look like? Is it just an intellectual understanding?
Yeah.
Or is it something we can experience?
Yogananda emphasized that self-realization isn't just a philosophical concept. It's a state of awareness of directly experiencing our oneness with the divine. It's about shifting our identity from the limited ego to the boundless self.
Okay, so it's an experiential shift, not just a mental one.
Yes.
But what about death? How does the soul fit into that transition?
Yogananda taught that death is not the end,
Okay.
but simply a transition when the physical body dies.
Okay.
The soul, encased in its actual and causal bodies, moves on to other realms of existence.
I remember you mentioned the astral and causal bodies earlier.
Right.
Can you remind me what those are again?
Of course, so the astral body is made up of finer, more subtle energy than the physical body.
Okay.
And the causal body is the seat of our soul and karmic patterns.
Right.
So even though the physical body dies, our consciousness continues in these other forms.
That makes sense. But is it possible to experience this transition while we're still alive?
Yeah.
Did Yogananda talk about that?
He even shared techniques for consciously separating the soul from the body, allowing us to experience this transition while still in physical form.
Wow, that sounds pretty intense. What was the purpose of that practice?
He called it conscious death.
Okay.
And it wasn't about ending life prematurely,
Right.
but about realizing the soul's eternal nature and overcoming the fear of death.
Interesting.
It's about recognizing that we're so much more than just our physical bodies.
That's fascinating. It really shifts the way we think about death, doesn't it?
It does.
But how do we even access those deeper levels of our being?
Well, Yogananda placed a lot of emphasis on the power of memory.
Okay.
But not just remembering facts and figures.
Right.
He talked about accessing the soul's innate memory of its divine origin.
So we have kind of spiritual memory that goes beyond this lifetime.
Exactly. He believed that by cultivating our memory, we can recall not only this life, but past lives as well.
Wow.
He even suggested specific techniques for developing memory and concentration, such as visualization and mental repetition.
So we can train our minds to access these deeper memories. That's really empowering.
Yes, it is. He also emphasized the power of feeling.
Okay.
He said that experiences that evoke strong emotions are more easily remembered. It highlights the important connection between feeling and memory.
That makes sense. When we feel something deeply, it's more likely to stay with us.
Exactly.
But sometimes life can feel like a struggle.
Yes.
Even with a spiritual practice, did Yogananda offer any guidance on how to approach those challenges?
He encouraged us to see life as a grand adventure, a cosmic play in which we're not just observers, but active participants.
Okay.
He even compared this world to a dream, suggesting that when we awaken to our true nature, the illusion of the material world dissolves.
So it's about embracing the journey even with its ups and downs.
He encouraged us to approach life with joy and enthusiasm, knowing that our true self is always safe and secure in the embrace of the divine.
That's such a reassuring thought.
Yes.
But didn't he also emphasize practical living as part of the spiritual path?
Absolutely. He encouraged us to live balanced lives, integrating spirituality with our worldly duties.
Right.
It's about cultivating both our inner and outer worlds, balancing material success with spiritual growth.
So it's not about renouncing the world, but about finding a harmonious way to live in it.
Precisely. He even offered practical advice on diet, exercise, and sleep, recognizing the importance of physical well-being for our spiritual journey.
Right.
He believed that a healthy body supports a healthy mind, making it easier to connect with the divine.
That makes perfect sense. But what about his vision for the future?
Yeah.
Did he have any thoughts on how spirituality could transform the world?
He did. He envisioned a world where spirituality wasn't confined to monasteries and temples, but integrated into every aspect of society.
Right.
A world where spiritual principles guide our actions, leading to greater peace, harmony, and understanding.
That's a beautiful vision. Do you think it's possible?
Yogananda believed he believed that by awakening to our true nature as children of God, we can create a world that reflects the divine qualities of love, compassion, and unity.
Wow. It's such an inspiring call to action. It makes you want to go out and make a difference in the world.
It does, and that's really the essence of Yogananda's teachings.
Yeah.
To awaken to our true nature, live in harmony with the divine, and contribute to a more enlightened world.
We've reached the end of our deep dive into the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda. We've explored his teachings on meditation, reincarnation, the nature of the soul, the illusion of reality, and even the possibility of transcending death.
It's been quite a journey.
We've also touched on his practical advice for living a balanced life.
Yes.
Overcoming bad habits and cultivating our spiritual potential.
Absolutely.
But most importantly, we've glimpsed into his profound vision of a world transformed by the realization of our divine nature.
It's truly inspiring.
So as you go forth from this deep dive, just remember Yogananda's words. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Let that be your guiding light as you navigate the journey of life.
Such wise words.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking.
Yes.
And who knows, maybe someday you'll experience the divine bliss that Yogananda described so eloquently. Until then, keep diving deep.
Yeah.
And remember, the journey of self-discovery is an adventure worth taking.
Indeed, may the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda illuminate your path and guide you toward the ultimate realization of your true self.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.
Did you get any of that?